Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Epic Meta Podcast. George, how's it going?
Good, and thank you for resuming the hey hey.
Well, it's supposed to be just for a certain episode, but I guess you prefer it over the other openings because I was listening to our previous 1 to 10 episodes, and we did go with a different opening for that. I don't know if you remember.
Hmm. My recollection is it's been hey hey every time.
No, it's only since episode 10 or 11 or I don't know I don't know what you call it, but
Hmm.
it's all right. Not a big deal. On today's episode, we're covering back to the Expanse series, and we're gonna cover episode 4 to 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
So yeah, I made a mistake of 1, 2, 3. I thought I know the series so well that I kind of just didn't really watch it, and going with your impression instead. And my apologies to the listeners too. I didn't rewatch all of that is from 4 to 5 and 6. And honestly, I don't know how you do it. I mean, you must have a really strict schedule, and I think you prefer listening entertainment. Or so used to it that you have the capacity to stop watching a TV show. I I'm just watching it now. And if it was me, I would have finished out season one a long time ago. Do you feel compelled in regards to moving on to the next episode at all, or like when it ends, you're okay with it, just staying unknown?
Um. Yeah, it's hard for me to watch many episodes all at once.
Hmm.
It like 3 episodes in a row. It takes some effort on my part. Um,
Hmm.
in fact,
Does it consume?
I find myself pausing the episode while it's playing just to take a little bit of a break.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is it like consume your energy, or as far as like your attention energy, it's just too much and too fast in regards to like the medium telling story?
Well, I'm also trying to keep track of who the characters are and what actually is happening in the plot, and that takes effort too. So
Yeah.
I just feel like the effort drains me, so
Hmm.
I can't sustain it for a long time.
Hmm. Yeah. I think with I don't want to say it's a mystery, but a lot of TV shows have that open with a why cast. You leave a lot of things up to the storyteller to navigate, and then you understand it at the end. So like this is why certain TV shows gain a big following because people have to rewatch and they nitpick and then dive really deep. This is why like YouTubers entertainment exists because they'll watch along with an audience and actually dive deeper into like what's this, who's that, and people provide their knowledge from either the books or this is like why it works in regards to the TV show. But upon rewatching, we open episode 4 with the main crew. Whom did we go over their names in our last episode? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I'm still unclear on a lot of the
The main
characters'
character.
names. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, between the different, I guess, forces, which we covered last episode, the main crew is, I would say, not in alliance with anyone. They are basically belters, but the main crew or the main characters of the show that we follow the story comprise of um, different people from different places. So we'll go over them now, if that's okay, and you can ask your questions about them.
Yeah, let's do
But
that.
so the characters are captured by a Mars warship called the Donager, and in there, the main crew of the story cast is an ex-UN Navy pilot. His name is Jim Holden. Well, we don't know if he's a pilot. He just a UN Navy captain. We don't know exactly what captains do, but I guess he's in charge of ships. So Jim Holden was on the ice hauler, the Canterbury, and I have forgotten that the Canterbury got exploded when he was on his little tiny ship, the vessel to explore the scapuli. So the crew that he select to explore the scapuli with him is him, Alex Kamal, which is an ex. Turns out to be on this episode we learn he's an ex Martian pilot, and then Naomi Nagata, who I think is always has been a belter. So right there we got Earth, Mars, and belter, and Amos Byrne is also an ex-Earth person, and he's just
What's
a
his last name? Amos
Burton.
Burton.
They just call him Amos. I mean, it's only on like the IMDb that I realize his last name.
He's the stocky guy with the stubble beard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
basically he's yeah, he's the badass muscle guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who was the guy who got his head blown off?
I was wondering that while his head was being blown off. So I think he is just another what do you call it? What's the word? Expendable character that got selected from the ice hauler. That I thought he was part of their main crew, and then, like now we know as you watch 4, 5, and 6, you come to realize the story's central focus around these four characters. So I guess he was there just to move the story along and kind of cover, which I guess I hinted at a lot, space warfare and space stuff that this show does really well with the well when so the crew got arrested by Mars ship Doniger, put into a holding cell, and while Mars is investigating this thing that happens in space when the Canterbury exploded, Jim Holden did this huge thing that we didn't cover, which is he sent out broadcast like an emergency. What do you call those? When an airplane is going down, they broadcast Mayday, like a Mayday broadcast message. And he didn't limit the signal to just Earth, for example. He broadcast to everybody because he's attached, obviously, to the ship Canterbury, the ice hauler. I think he spent a few years with them. Every one of the characters has been attached to that ship, and so they felt, anger, because their people has been murdered, and it's pretty fast. It's one bullet, well, not one bullet, but one missile, and the Canterbury is gone. And we cover that.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
just clarify something. So the Canterbury was the ship that Jim Holden was on when they went to investigate that other ship, right?
No, the Canterbury is the big, massive ice hauler where everyone was on, where we open up the show to. The
No,
little ship that,
no, but the Canterbury was destroyed, right?
yeah,
And the Canterbury was destroyed when it went to investigate that other ship.
the Canterbury. You talking about the little ship that they used,
No,
the vessel?
no, there was a big ship, and then they were on
Yep,
a shuttle.
yep, the shuttle. Yep, the
But
shuttle is
I'm
not
not.
the Canterbury.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the shuttle. I'm talking about the big
Okay.
ship. And
Yes.
the big ship responded to a distress call.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
We're talking about the same thing.
Okay. So
Yep.
what was the ship that was where the distress call came from?
I think that one is called the Scapuli, but let me confirm that right now, because I don't know if it has a name. We just know it's not a military ship, which is really rare in space because it takes a lot of money. It's either Earth, Mars, or the outer belts. You don't have random ship that's unrecognized floating around with unrecognized technology. So that's why they were. And it turns out, now that we learned in episode 4, as the crew is arrested, being investigated, that the signal that alert them was a Martian technology. So we learned that when they were investigating the ship, the beacon for help is actually Martian. And so upon the arrest on Doniger, the Martian ship, when they were being interrogated, Jim reviewed this information. And then the captain of that Martian ship said, "It's not us." So now we have essentially somewhat of a Cold War situation, which I thought, early in episode 1 and 3, we know that that's the setting. We know that there was conflict, and it's always kind of bubbling up. But in this episode, 4, 5, and 6, we learned that now it's not just political; it's also, little, I guess, warlike action going on in the systems all the time. So if that helps, kind of explain what's going on. But I'm trying to confirm. Yep. Uh, So yeah, I do get some of the ships confused, and it's hard to get it straight. But the Scopuli was definitely where Jim and his main crew kind of like walk through with their flashlight, trying to like look for information and who's left basically. And they saw some dead floating bodies around.
And so the
Yeah.
girl Julie, who
Mm.
Detective Miller is looking for, was on that ship, correct?
Correct.
And
Yep.
she's the one who set the distress signal.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So it's basically privately owned spaceship, but the signal that she used, the technology she used, must have been similar or close to like Martian hack. So the main cast is confused as the rest of the, I guess, solar system, the Earth solar system or Sol. So I forgot, and I bears rewatching sometimes because I forgot. There was a significant moment I thought it was really cool, and maybe in the other episode as well. But there was a scene that caught me when before the Donager was engaged in battle, the guy who was about to provide security for Jim Holden to get him off the ship. Um, so during the battle, they recognized that this unique warships. There's like 6 of them chasing the Donager. They're faster, they're stronger. They're pushing the Martian ship to its limit, and it's basically not able to match again these unique ships. Jim said he recognized because he's on the deck, I suppose. He recognized that ship before when they encounter it um, with the Canterbury, and so the captain of the Martian ship said, "Hey, we need to get Jim back to Earth so that he can share this information because right now the entire system thinks Mars shot down the Canterbury." And we saw a graffiti back on series with Jim Miller's investigating. They are leveraging um, the white cast message that Jim sent out as a reason for revolt. They're saying that basically, you know, the can is part of us. It's delivering ice, it's innocent ship, and look at all these people murdering people out here on the planet. Nobody care about the Belters, kind
But
of thing.
but that doesn't make 100% sense to me because Earth controls the belt, and they think Mars destroyed the Canterbury. So their anger is towards Mars, but Mars doesn't control the belt. So
Nobody controls the belt. They're in alliance with one another. So
that's not true. There's Earth Marines and
yeah,
police that are, policing the belt.
but the police is a private security force. So it's very tenuous. So basically, I guess you can say it's control. I mean, if the outer belts have a revolt, Earth will be the one fighting it. But at the same time, Mars most likely will join in the fight and side with the belt. It's very tenuous, and then different people have authority in a way that it's so far away from each other. The outer belts have almost an independent authority at this point, and the
Okay,
OPA,
but
which we didn't cover.
well, hold on. But that still doesn't. So if they think Mars destroyed the Canterbury, why would that want them? Why would that encourage them to revolt against Earth?
Who
The
wants to revolt?
the the people in the belt.
Yeah, so the OPA is a political militant faction in the belt, and they're not they're just using it as a leverage. They're not
But
actually
how is that leverage? If they want to revolt against Earth, why would it?
because
Why
the
would
Canterbury is an
Mars
innocent
destroy?
ice hauler.
Yeah, but they think Mars destroyed it. So
They're looking to revolt against everybody. They want independence agency. So they don't really care who shot down the Canterbury. They're using the Jim Holden message as a reason to just say we're sick and tired of working for the planet systems. So to the outer belters, they don't care who's at fault. They're just using his political wipe. They're using his emergency response as a reason to gain independence from everybody.
No, I get that, but it just doesn't make 100% sense to me because Earth is the one who's
We don't
nominally in
know it's
control.
Earth.
No, no, no.
Oh,
Earth controls the belt. So
not.
if the belt is going to become independent, it has to become independent from Earth. So if Mars destroyed the Canterbury,
Mm.
how could that be used as incentive to revolt against Earth?
Yeah, I don't think it's revolting against Earth, and it's not revolting against Mars either. They just want justice, and the OPA is like basically, a militant group. They don't care what the reason is. They're just trying to stir up the anger.
So OPA stands for Outer Planets Alliance, I believe.
I have to take a look here.
Well, it does. I know
Okay.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, they're not looking to they're just looking to instigate, right? Much like real life terrorist groups, they're not looking to have a reason to instigate or a specific party against. They just want the Belters to cause chaos, and
Hmm.
you know,
Well, no. I mean, I I think it Earth and Mars are both vying for control, or both use the belt in various ways.
mm,
So maybe it's just they want to be independent from both Earth and Mars. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They're not looking to. I mean, yeah, they're looking for independence from everybody. So when you say you're confused as to who shot down the Canterbury,
I'm not confused about that.
okay,
I'm
so
confused as to why they think uh, if Earth is in political control of the belt and Mars destroyed the Canterbury, why are they using that act by Mars to foment uh, rebellion against Earth?
yeah, I think that's my mistake. Is a mistake of interpretation because I think in his message, the OPA just saying that Canterbury was destroying. We don't know who, so they're pissed.
Well, no,
Not
no, they
necessarily.
said it was Mars in his message.
I Yeah, he later on. So now I think he later on got in trouble. Because Mar thinks, why are you blaming us? The
Yeah, I mean
OPA is not
that's
necessarily angry against Earth, and they're just trying to revolt against everybody.
right.
So
So,
they're not looking at Earth specifically.
okay, but when Holden broadcasted that message, he specifically blamed Mars
Hmm.
for destroying the Canterbury, which is why Mars wanted Holden to go and testify before the United Nations Security Council to say that it
Hmm.
wasn't Mars.
Why do you think the OPA is trying to revolt and leveraging? How are they leveraging the broadcast to go revolt against?
Well, the OPA wants to revolt because they live in depressed circumstances. They don't have access to all the water and
Right, right.
minerals that
My,
so so they don't want to be. They feel like Earth is exploiting them. So they
but to your
want to.
question, are they revolting against Mars?
Well, I'm just saying that doesn't make 100% sense to me because Earth is the one who's in control, really, and blaming Mars for destroying the Canterbury doesn't seem like a reason to rebel against Earth.
Yeah, I don't. I think you're reading. I think they're revolting against everybody, and they're trying to cause uh, war so that they can gain independence from both the system, proving their point that the systems don't know how to manage them. So it's not necessarily, doesn't make sense to go against Mars because Earth is in control of them. I don't think that's how, like, I don't think that's reading. I don't know. Like, that's an interesting question because I don't think that's the situation. I think OPA just leveraging it to get everybody angry as far as nobody cares about the belts. So that's my read on the show or the story. I don't remember specifically like that's who they're who this is going against. But yeah, that's the majority of the episode. I thought so. There's a scene when.
Well, we're talking about episode 4 now.
Hmm.
So this is a pretty tight episode. Basically, the plot of it is the crew. So Jim Holden, Alex, Naomi, and Amos are now imprisoned on the Mars ship, the Donager.
Mm.
The captain wants Jim Holden to recant his broadcasts so that there's no war between Earth and Mars. And while they're having that discussion, the Donager is attacked by some unknown ship.
Hmm.
And at first, the Martian ship feels like they can easily defeat them, but then it turns out that the ship that's attacking them is more powerful than they anticipated, and actually cripples that ship. And so
Yeah.
by the end of the episode, uh, Jim Holden and his crew escape on a Martian shuttle with the permission of the Martian captain. So, and their mission is to go back to Earth and tell them that Mars was not responsible for the Canterbury, and the Donager is ultimately destroyed by the attacking force.
Yeah. You got it. Like that's not a lot at all. I think the first three episodes because they open on a wide cast and multi-system. Whereas the books you follow Jim Holden's for I think a solid chunk of time, and so his viewpoint was the main driving of the story, and so you can follow that a lot easier. The problem with the TV show is you have to get everybody in so that you can build the setting, and that's really difficult when it's multi-planet to not focus on just Jim alone. I mean, it would be a very boring kind of TV show if you don't show different planets and exciting stuff. Um,
Yeah, so it flips back and forth between the Jim Holden story and then the Detective Miller story and
mhm.
series, and then there's stuff going on Earth as well with an Indian woman. Do you know who that Indian woman is?
Yeah, it's Nasa Varela. She's an important character. She's basically a political player. I don't want to say like a cabinet member. I don't know how the government is breakdown.
She's high up
Uh,
in the UN government. I'm not sure
yes.
exactly what position she holds, but
Yeah, it's all different. It's not like, it's the whole UN. It's not just, one political party similar to or
and
one
I don't know if we
political
mentioned this
setting.
before, but the UN is in control of Earth and the Moon.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Earth, we mentioned Earth and Moon is the same entity. But yeah, she is trying to figure out the truth and she is working her, I guess, political plays to figure out who's doing what because she cares about the truth, whereas other forces on Earth are also leveraging, the explosion of or the destruction of the Canterbury as a reason to go to war with Mars. So this caused a lot of, I guess, yeah, it's basically a big mess because nobody knows the real truth except the people who did it. Um, and she's trying to avoid war but also learn what's going on. And she has no power right now. She just, another player in the game. She's not like in
Well,
charge.
she has a lot of political power. Like she can pull a lot
Hmm.
of levers of power and do
Yeah.
like a lot of things in the background. She's not the main political figure
Yeah.
though. Who is the main political figure?
So there is a president, and then there's I guess, a vice president, for lack of a better term. They have different titles, but I didn't go.
The general secretary and the
I
UN
forgot
is
what
headed
their.
by a general secretary now. Is that the case in the show?
I don't remember. I don't remember their title, but you will see them later on in the season. So yes,
So
there is a.
okay, we haven't met them yet.
I don't want to say no. I don't remember.
Okay.
Um, I'm thinking not. I'm thinking not because there's definitely like scenes in the show where they're sitting around a table literally deciding whether to go to war or not. So if you haven't seen that so far, then I would say no, you haven't seen them yet. But there's a main like I guess president or central authority, and then the second guy that NASA Varela is fighting with, for lack of a better term, and we'll understand how Earth is dealing with all this in behind the scenes as well. But yes, she is a main one of the main character is Christian. That's her name, Christian Asavarala. So she's an executive, and I guess she's like the good side, along with the main cast, with Jim Holden trying to prevent war. Nobody, along with Jim, he's Earth-based character, so he definitely don't want the Earth destroy. His, family is there, parents, etc. And so everybody there is like, let's not go to war. However, later on, he does have to recant his message, like, hey, I made a mistake. I thought this was happening, but it's not the truth, kind of thing. So most of season one is him eventually meeting Christian Acevarella to work along with each other to prevent war, and other Mars forces as well. But we haven't gotten there yet. So, so basically, there's a bunch of, I guess, good characters, I suppose, that trying to prevent chaos, and then there's a bunch that trying to push on chaos. Her character in the book series, it didn't get covered until book two. I think the writers for the show want to put her in so that you know what's going on, and they want coverage on Earth, Mars, and the belts equally. Because the book follow Jim Holden more, so you understand the space life, which is the Belter's life, in book one, and then you kind of understand the how big of a hit to the Belters and why it's such a brink, because they were on the brink of stress as far as just nobody cares anymore. I want independence from all the system, uh, and then the Canterbury got destroyed, so it's very much that caused everything. Um, almost similar to our current real life. There's a lot of stress going on, and when something bad happened, it just blow up. So Jim didn't help the situation by, I guess, uh, mistakenly blaming Mars. So but I was caught off guard by a scene when he was still being captured, but brought onto the main deck to kind of talk to the captain of the Mars ship. There's I guess a second in command. His name is Lopez, and he was saying,
He's the guy with the ponytail.
yeah, he was the guy with the ponytail, and there's a scene where he talks about Earth with this disdain and how people of Earth, he said his great uncle or great grandfather was from Earth, talk about endless oceans and blue skies, and he never understood, like to somebody who grew up and live under a dome, they don't understand that, it's impossible to imagine an ocean, and yet Earthers have a ability to destroy something. Uh, and I was like, yeah, that hit really hard because I thought, yeah, we are destroying the planet. And Jim responds like, yeah, that's what we do. We wreck stuff. But there's this disdain and this like disrespect from anyone from Mars looking at Earth or interact with anybody from Earth, because they are, well, essentially stupid, pointless,
Well,
selfish creatures.
yeah, I mean, on Mars, there's breathable air is rare. You have to live
Mm,
under a dome or underground,
yeah.
and large amounts of water is rare as well.
Mm.
And so on Earth, they have those two things in abundance, and but they take it for granted, and they also want they're greedy for more. That's how the Martians and the Belters view
Yeah.
view Earth.
I've forgotten all of that. I mean, I understand, the show because I've been watching it up to the latest season. I haven't seen the latest one yet, but I've forgotten the mentality or the vibe. And I think if you read the series, you will get that more. We kind of missed that, but that scene alone hit me really hard because along with the action, which I'm impressed by. Upon rewatching, you can have time to kind of absorb that kind of information and kind of understand where all these people are coming from. And you can understand like from each side's perspective why the other people are so bad to them or so yeah, they just don't have anything similar to them. Granted, they're all humans, but it's so many generation and so far away that it's so distant. The concept of an Earther, it just already automatically, kind of like, honestly, it's so relevant to real life that, especially American life, if you go anywhere, there's this sentiment of United U.S. citizens versus if you visit Europe on a trip, there's gonna be a feel like Europeans gonna react a certain way. Same thing what we have in real life. I thought that was really poignant, and I totally forgot about that scene, and just remember Amos being a badass. So they had to respond quickly. So it was Alex, Naomi, and Amos being in a room with the guy that also died. And they were being captured, and the ship was going to war mode, fighting mode. They're all sitting down and buckle themselves in. They're all freaking out, basically. And this guy got shot with, I guess, a space bullet from the ship because it goes through. Later on, we see it goes through directly the hull, multiple rooms. It just happened to be, the path of the bullet or path of the projectile that captured his
Projectile,
head.
yeah.
Yeah. So they had to respond quickly and seal the room because air is being sucked out. Which is, Naomi came in charge, and we saw her showcase leadership because she has basically mechanical or,
She's an engineer.
engineer. So they responded quickly. We see Alex kind of freaking out, even though we learn Amos is like, "What? Aren't you like a Navy pilot? Don't you know what's going on?" And then Alex responded, "Hey man, I'm just a glorified bus driver," which I thought was hilarious. But it's a
He
fun.
was a pilot, but he flew a cargo ship, basically,
Yeah,
not a warship.
not a warship, right?
Well, let's
So,
let's move on to episode 5 because I think we
mhm.
covered 4, and we're already half an hour into this. So episode 5 was a little bit more complicated than episode 4, which was basically a space battle.
Mm,
Episode 5 opens up with so the partner of Detective Miller in a previous, I guess, episode 3. That episode ended with him being impaled with a pipe by a bald
mm,
guy,
right.
and I thought he was dead, but apparently he survived that injury, and so episode 5 opens up with him in the hospital, and they're repairing that wound that he suffered.
Yeah. So that partner is a new Earther contractor.
Do you know
So
what
he's
his
not
name
from.
is?
I've forgotten his name too. He's not. No, I mean, I guess all the characters are important, but yeah, he's basically the mechanism for Jim to understand that there's more going on. So basically, Jim is digging deeper and deeper into this Julie Mao side investigation he's getting paid for, and certain forces are
Jim is
capping them up.
Jim Miller,
Jim Miller,
Detective Miller.
yeah,
Okay.
Miller is investigating, and we learned that his partner got murdered, and it was possibly meant for him as a signal to stop researching or investigating this whole thing as a message because they don't want him they want him to stop. Like, so we don't know who is pulling all the strings, but we know that Miller is getting way too close because upon investigating Julie's mouse contact, this dead body is supposed to be this guy. It turns out the way the body gets ID, the technology is keep rechanging. So he learning this dead body have different names all the time. And so he doesn't know the truth. He's like, I don't understand what's going on. I just know that I'm getting all these messages and signal to stop. But being I guess a a good detective or a burnout detective. He wants to know the truth, so he's going in all costs. I don't trying to remember the episode, but we cover the Butcher of Anderson, Fred Johnson as well. I'm imagining you have a lot of questions from that because the book goes into deeper than the show. So what yeah, let me prep by we we go to back to space with the crew, the main crew, and Holden and his crew is basically running thin. They have no power. I think the ship is yeah, the ship is needing help, and they don't have a station to go back to. So they need to land somewhere and basically recover. And so Fred Johnson runs the Outer Planets, this Tycho station. I don't know where it is, but I know it's
It's in
big
the
enough.
belt somewhere.
Yeah, it's big enough to host ships and refuel and repair them.
And
And
Fred Johnson is the secret leader of the OPA.
yes, so the OPA at this point um, doesn't have a really point of contact except other than Fred Johnson. So later on in the season, they become essentially they declare messages like, "Hey, this is the OPA. You're gonna go through me, and I'm the single point of contact. I'm basically the leadership here. So far, it's just like a underground kind of revolt kind of thing. There's no leader for you to kill, so that it's meant to be that way. But Fred Johnson, the story with him is he's a badass as well. Years ago, he was an Earther Navy captain, and he murdered a bunch of belters. But somehow, understanding their plight, he kind of adopted their cause. And so I think that's not really. It's hard to see that in the show. I imagine you have problems seeing that as well, right? Because I felt that way when I was watching it. I don't understand how the OPA adopted him, for lack of a better term.
I I'm not clear on what you're saying. So
Fred Johnson is not a outer planet person. He used to be an Earther.
no, I get that, and I get that
Mm.
he's the leader of the OPA, and I get that the OPA is uh, a somewhat of a secret organization at this point. But you just said something that you said that I don't understand something.
What I don't understand either is that the OPA let Fred Johnson to lead them, and he joined their fight, for lack of a better term. Yeah, he joined their fight. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, at
you know,
this point, we don't know enough about Fred Johnson to know what his background is.
yeah. I'm trying to remember if this was shown in the episode you watch. But years ago, as a UN space marine, he assaulted a station and murder a bunch of outer planet miners and their kids trapped. And so
Oh, was that
he
the Anderson Station
yeah
event?
he-
Oh, okay.
yeah
So okay, I didn't realize that that was a flashback. I thought that was
yeah
happening contemporaneously with everything else.
yeah no,
So
it's
okay,
not that.
that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, it turns out it's like 11 years ago. He let them assault him on that because, like you said, the belts were still under protection and ownership of Earth. And so he led, it's kind of like a situation where it was out of his hands, and one thing led to another, and a bunch of innocent, non-civilians, like, they're not war people, but they were protesting because they were you know, limited. They were dying, and he was in charge of the situation, and basically, like, a lot of people get killed, and so his nickname became the Butcher of Anderson Station. So he's feared throughout all of space. So basically, I think Earth either fire him or he retire. We don't know. I don't remember the book covering. I don't exactly remember how he quit, but that event allow him to understand the plight of the Belters and joining them. What I'm having trouble, I guess, understanding is maybe our viewers can help us out is or help me out is how come the belt let him in? How come the belts allow him to, take charge and become a part of them, even though he was responsible for this horrendous event?
Well,
So that's
he might have started the OAP. So I don't
OPA. Yeah,
OPA. So I don't think the OPA existed before he.
that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense because he brought, the OPA at that time it's just all civilians, and I think he was the only one with military, I guess, experience and naval warfare in regards to space warfare.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense. So he essentially understood their plight and started it because it's truly unfair. I think that hit him really hard. It's how much destruction he brought upon the Belters when that event occurred. So we saw him now hosting the new renamed ship that they hijacked, but the Rocinante is their escape shuttle, the main cast of characters that we go with. Apparently, it's a reference to a literature in the past somewhere. Uh, do you have you ever heard of the term Rocinante before this TV show?
No, but what you're saying is the Martian shuttle that they had flown to Tycho Station was renamed and re-outfitted with this new name, and so Holden and his team are going to fly that from Tycho Station to, I guess, Earth in order to testify that Mars did not blow up the Canterbury.
Yeah, in short. But the cool thing is that they're making a uneasy alliance with Fred Johnson because they have nowhere else to park and refuel and recover themselves. So Rocinante is a reference to Don Quixote, which I've never read.
Neither have I.
Apparently, Don Quixote's horse is named Rocinante. So it's a workhorse warship in this term. But it's pretty a badass little war shuttle. And has one of the cool thing on it that Jim has been seeking out for this whole time, which is coffee. They have a little scene, and I thought I was like, oh, yep, I would be terrible in space. I'll probably lose my mind if I don't have, certain amenities. And this ship is decked out to handle a full, maybe 10, 20, even more people. I don't really get a sense of how much Rocinante is able to hold, but 4 people is like the minimum. So he is plenty of air, plenty of resources for them to hang out in this ship, and they kind of claim their own. How do you think about all that scenes when they were flying around with the Rocinante?
Well, I mean, we find out that Jim Holden likes coffee, and he was happy that there was coffee on the ship.
Yeah, I guess you don't really feel any attack. You don't feel. How do you feel about the characters? Like, do you think they're kind of just annoying, or you don't feel like you know, they're not learning anything? I don't know. How
I
do you feel
like
about the
the.
character?
I mean, I like the characters fine. It at this point, I don't feel like I really know them all that well, but
Yeah,
I know them better than I did during our last podcast on the Expanse. So I think it's
yeah,
just going to be a gradual process of me
yeah,
learning this.
yeah. I think it's meant to be like that, right? Yeah, it's
So
just still figuring them all out. Yeah.
so the other thing that happened in episode 5, we talked about the Anderson Station um, massacre that
Mm.
Fred Johnson was in charge of. That happened a while back.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that happens in that episode is Detective Miller. It seems to be like sobering up. He's drinking coffee as well. He's not drinking alcohol. There are several situations where he could have had alcohol and he declined. And he
Mm.
meets up with this. There's a guy who I guess is a member of the OPA, or Yeah, OPA. But he has a Scottish accent. And later on, Detective Miller is abducted by agents of this Scottish accent guy,
Mm-hmm.
and they interrogate him,
Yep.
and they're going to kill him, but he
Yeah.
escapes.
Yep. Anderson Dawes is the
Is that his name, Anderson Dawes?
Yeah, Anderson Dawes is, I guess, a lieutenant of the OPA, and on series, he's in charge of all OPA, I guess, activities. Because they have, like in this universe, they have, I mean, I guess it's our universe. They have, everybody have, I guess, spies everywhere. And so, the OPA have people uh, around all the different habitable spaces, including series. And we know certain strings are being pulled. We don't know who. And Miller is getting to this point where he's trying, I think really close to the truth. And they keep going back to the OPA because he wants to know who sponsored the ship and, who Julie Mao hang out with. And the OPA, yep, go ahead.
The woman, Julie, who Detective Miller was trying to locate,
Hmm.
she had some connection with the OPA.
Right, right. And I think we are, I guess it's not too much to reveal that we're slowly learning that there's I guess a cause or a political movement with the OPA, and that eventually Miller is I think Miller just accept that the flight and then suffering of the Belters are what is. However, not everyone is understanding that, and we come to learn that Julie might be understanding the truth of the nature, and that she is, I guess, doing activities or following activities that to her path is basically, helping the OPA and the Belters gain independence because it's not fair anymore. And so Anderson Dawes might know that in the back end already. He just torturing Miller to know who is pushing Miller around, who is, giving him orders. But yeah, we don't know who's good and who's bad at this point. We just know that nobody knows the truth. So that's my interpretation of that episode. But they they're trying to basically befriend each other and recruit each other at the same time because nobody knows what's going on. Uh, yeah,
So then in episode 6, it starts out with the Indian woman that we were talking about. What was her name?
Asa Varela.
Okay, and she's talking to somebody who is a former spy chief or whatever for Earth, and she wants, but he's no longer in that position, but he still has connections, and she wants to use one of his spies on Tycho Station to spy on Fred Johnson. And he initially
Hmm.
declines, but then she uses leverage. Um, I guess this guy has a son who's in prison, and he wants him out of prison, and she tells him that she can get his son out of prison if he gives her access to this spy that he has on Tycho Station.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
it's basically demonstrating her, I guess, intelligence and you know, how good is she is playing the game. Because like leveraging people and pressuring people is what she does to get the answer she needs. So, um, like she's not below like being dishonored and basically just I forgot the term, extortion and whatnot to get the answers, even though the truth is that like to her the ends justify the means kind of person. So we see she's being clever because through uh, recognized channels, I guess, formal channels, it won't be done. So she's doing what it takes to get the answer she needs. So yeah, that's I guess that's like a character, reveal of her, how she is, smarter and better than other players in the game, political game on Earth. So yeah.
Okay, so the other thing that's going on in this episode is we see two Russian miners, and they have an asteroid in a net that I guess they're gonna sell.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a gross situation. The Russian, the older Russian, who I guess is the uncle of the younger Russian, is they're drinking alcohol, and they're obviously hard on their luck, and need money. But
Mm.
but their ship is eventually boarded by Marines who say that they don't have the proper permits, and they're going to fine them, and they're like, well, we can't pay the fine, we can't get the permit because we don't have enough money, and now you're fining us. And so basically it was a situation where the belt it's an example of how the belters are being oppressed by the system. And
Yeah. It.
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say this is also a flashback. This is not necessarily concurrent timelines.
Oh,
So this
how do you
this
know
is
when it's a
also.
flashback? I this is the
I
second
think you have to
flashback I
keep.
missed.
Yeah, because I was also confused going through it the first time. So I think you have to rewatch and kind of like, research into it. But later on, you see that character again. So the Belters. This is like another example of the Belters being squeezed by multiple forces, right? Yes, they're under protection of Earth, but when you go and I guess mine ice on out there in asteroids, you need licenses and you need like I guess certification, etc. And if you have a ship and if you're a trucker, you can't do it. You basically are basically working under the radar. Plenty of I guess plenty of other novels or storyline. So for example, Star Wars, this would be Harrison Ford character just doing stuff under the radar. It is basically that kind of thing. So he's trying to do it and get pay and hauling ice back, but yeah, they got caught by Martian's police. So instead of
Those are
you know
Martians.
yeah, so instead of like, I think I remember it correctly, it's Martian. I want to say yes, but let me see.
I thought they were Earth Marines, but I could be wrong.
Uh, I don't remember, but they're basically being bullied for not having a license to work. And so
It did.
between this,
It did say they were in the Martian zone of the belt. So
yeah, I'm trying to look at the military costume they were wearing. So anytime like it seems out of conjunction with the normal timeline of the main crew, you can just assume it's a flashback. So yeah, I'm looking at the logo shoulders of the investigating officers, and they look like it's supposed to be Martian. But yeah,
now, after this happens, the uncle ejects his nephew from the ship in a spacesuit, so he's floating in space. And then
yeah,
my impression was that he flew the ship into that Marine ship.
yeah.
So he didn't die in that.
Oh no, he died. The
He,
uncle?
well, you said that he shows up later
The
on.
no, the nephew
The
show up
nephew
later.
does. Okay.
Yeah. So in an attempt to save his life, what the uncle does is it looks like he was killing him, but he's ejecting him with a spacesuit with air, and in hopes that somebody out there, because I think there's a beacon on him so for somebody to come and save him. Yep. So we see that same nephew character later on joining the OPA because of this oppression from multiple forces, literally witnessing his uncle being bullied and murdered. And so what he did is he float because he's hauling asteroids ice. He's flying into their formation with all the rocks, hoping that force would push, using the rocks as basically ammunition, and make a mess. So
Mhm.
that's his basically suicide run on that, and the nephew floating in some other direction that's safe. So that's yeah, they're basically being squeezed by everybody. And later on, we recognize that character again. But yeah, it is kind of confusing if you watch it for the first time as to how is this relevant, sort of thing. Um,
Well, I mean, I could see it was relevant in that it was an example of oppression of the Belters, and
Yeah,
it's another reason why they want to break free of the current political system.
yeah. I didn't understand it at the beginning, but later on we do see that same character, the nephew again, and how how poor and broken down and beaten down they are because they can never make headway, and even when they try to, they get punished for it. So
Okay, so there's that whole storyline. There's Miller is being interrogated by the Scottish guy, and they're actually going to kill Miller, but then another police officer saves him.
yeah,
And then towards the end of the episode, Miller had found a chip or a data chip that he found in Julie's apartment. Julie,
mm,
the girl that he's searching for, and he shows it to his boss in the police station, and she confiscates it and then fires him from the police force.
yeah. So like this is kind of like camping it out. As you can see now, he's getting way too close. I think the originally, his mission is to find this person, not why she was doing what she was doing. And like as he is investigating, whoever's in charge of contracting him is now like, all right, you're getting too close. I just wanted you to find my daughter. I don't want you to know what she was doing and why she was doing it and who she was doing it with. Just to stop. And so that's I guess his contract's ended. And then because it's a private military force, he get fired. And so basically now he's done with. So yeah, it's basically a lot of political stuff that now you get to see. It's like, there's something more here, like way bigger
Things are
than
coming to a
just
head. And we also learned that the Indian woman, what's her name again? I'm sorry.
Asavarala. Yeah, I have a problem
Asafara.
saying Sarala. I
we
have a
also,
problem saying her name too.
yeah, we also learned that the OPA killed her son at some point in the past.
Yeah, yeah. So there's like multiple,
So there's
I guess.
motivation. She has possibly a revenge motivation against the OPA, which is
Hmm.
interesting. And then the final thing that happens in this episode is Holden and his crew prepare to leave Tycho Station, and they eventually do. And then I think the episode ends with them actually leaving
Yeah,
on their way to Earth.
yeah. Do you think that this last three episodes drive the story more than previously for one, two, and three for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of moving parts, and so I'm being introduced to all these parts and trying to make sense of them.
Mm,
That it hasn't completely coalesced in my mind at this point, but I'm getting a bigger picture of what's going on, or a clearer picture, and I'm interested to see what how this shapes up. So yeah, I'm into it at this point.
Are you consuming or I guess other than the have you like in the last I say a year or two consume any other sci-fi because I was trying to get I think I was per the last episode I was trying to get your impression compared to any other show you were viewing or any movies but it's hard to do if you haven't seen anything else in recent times.
Well, we watched Arrival. We watched Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. We did
Anything that
episodes
was
on this.
recently made,
Oh,
let me rephrase.
Arrival wasn't recently made.
It's made a few years ago, but Arrival is a just a movie one-off, and
Mm-hmm.
this is a TV show that kind of covers like human drama of sorts. And so I was curious, like your take on it versus like other show takes. So like, yes, there's a lot of characters. Yes, it's a little confusing. I think the cool thing,
Which
as
is
always,
fine. That's fine for me. I'm okay with that.
mhm,
It's a big universe, and I need to learn about it. And
yeah,
I'm in the learning stage, so
yeah.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
I think compared to like I said, compare other show, the cool setting it is uh near future versus far future.
Hmm.
And so we see like upon rewatching, I see like there's a scene. There was like a slingshot club, which I thought was like so stupid. But now, now upon rewatching it, I thought it was like, wow, that's kind of cool. Um,
And the slingshot club is you fly a ship around Jupiter and use its gravitational pull to slingshot you. But
yeah,
it's a dangerous maneuver because
yeah,
they actually watch someone try to perform that maneuver and he dies in the process.
yeah. There's a lot of, I guess, crazy, stupid people, but at the same time, there's a lot of, it's kind of like extreme sport people, skydiving and all that jazz, doing crazy stunts. I guess in this in this timeline, if you want to go crazy, you can just do a slingshot and no navigation, no way to stop and
And it
backtrack.
it does sort of demonstrate the differing political situations between Earth, Mars, and the Belt. In that
Mm,
Earth, although they have more resources than Mars and the Belt, it's an older civilization and has become overly bureaucratic and somewhat stagnant. Whereas the Belt is like a wild frontier where people are, taking risks and it's got more life to it. And I guess Mars is somewhere in between the two.
yeah. Mars more military centric. And I guess they're still, I guess, for like a growing civilization. So they're really internally centric and care about their people and they're, making sure Mars become viable.
Yeah, and they're
Um,
they're motivated to terraform Mars, and um,
mhm.
yeah, there's more life in Mars than there is on Earth,
Yeah,
and
I think there's more passion,
yeah,
whereas Earth, it's just kind of like this crazy political warfare ongoing forever kind of deal.
but past its peak, it's like a declining
Civilization. Yeah,
civilization. Yeah. Whereas
right.
Mars is on the rise, and the belt is like a kind of a wild frontier at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the only thing I've come see the show very close to like mirror the same kind of environment or situation is any kind of like I guess in Star Trek in a way is the Federation. Anytime you see like Federation or Galactic Empire, it has that sense of vibe versus you know restriction on your freedom kind of feel. Um, and there's a show called The Firefly. It's an older show. It's only like one season, and the same story occurs. It's basically a small crew trying to find their way, but it's different motivation. This crew is a better mix because I think this crew basically have characters from each of the system, and they're all trying to essentially run away from whatever system they came from, which I found very very cool. So I like that a lot. So we saw briefly. I was skimming through the episode here. We saw briefly the second in command or the second character on Earth when Asavarale was going into a meeting. I'm trying to find his name, and I've forgotten. He's basically the main foe for her until the very end. Um, it's like ongoing thing with her and this character for I think next few season until he finally dies or lose out. But yeah, good stuff. I think hopefully if there's listeners, we have a few or listeners or viewers can share their thought on Fred Johnson's situation as well. I think that was unclear. I I read the books, but I don't really remember how the Belters forgave him and allowed him to kind of adopt their plight. It just
Well, it
doesn't make
seems
sense
like
to me.
he organized them, so they weren't organized before he came along.
Yeah, he might have given them more structure.
Yeah.
So cool. And yeah, your question to the broadcast message from Jim Holden also kind of was also sensible to me because I don't remember how the Belters leverage his broadcast to just go crazy. But I just know that it happens and they're doing it. He's basically a hero to them. at this point. Not sure why they care, other than the fact that the Canterbury was, a belter ship-ish kind of thing.
Well, maybe
So
they see that, the belt is sort of a pawn in the struggle between Earth and Mars, and they don't want to be part of
yep,
that struggle. Maybe
yep,
it's something like that.
yeah. I think the Canterbury exploding and the nephew being ejected is kind of on the same vibe where everybody just being squeezed. If you work in the belt, you're being squeezed by both sides. So it's kind of like, we have enough kind of situation. So
Mm-hmm.
not sure if it was specifically against Mars, but cool stuff. Yeah, I think at this point you're trying to get attached to the crew a little bit more. I love space as a setting, and this near future stuff is always a little bit exciting for me because I think it's a little bit more realistic, if that even if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Right.
Whereas far future space, it just sometimes it's too convenient. Here there's a lot of stuff going wrong.
Yeah, it's
And I
it's more real. Life is more of a struggle. It's not a. It's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
not as
So
cushy as Star Trek: The Next Generation. Say.
it's not as clear either because different people have different motivations. And good guys can always go bad kind of thing. And there's like multiple forces versus just, A and B. I guess over time, I'm older and I don't appreciate, or I appreciate less of simple stuff like Star Wars, like Life Force, Dark Force. Just shut up, man. It's so boring.
Well, Star Wars
I need,
was cool, but it was ruined.
but not simple, but anything that's straightforward. It just there's nothing for me to figure out. Um, Whereas like even the Expanse now up on rewatching, I'm like, oh, like I'm still figuring stuff out. So that's to me, I need that because if it's just too straight and forward, there's nothing for me to absorb anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So cool,
So,
cool.
just a few podcast notes.
Hmm.
Our YouTube station has 499 views
Nice,
and 14 subscribers.
nice. We're
Yeah,
growing.
yeah.
I think it's mostly due to our recent announcement with, I guess, our friends, a
No,
professional.
there was that guy who made a comment on our last Expanse episode. I think
Yeah.
he has a lot to, and he was not at that Toastmasters meeting, as far as I know. And on Buzzsprout, we have 352 downloads.
Yeah,
And
Buzzsprout. I saw somebody on Buzzsprout. It was cool because somebody used or listened to us through a smart speaker. So I don't know if you have any smart speaker in your house, but
no,
like
I don't.
I have a like an Amazon little Alexa thing, and somebody used that technology to listen to us, which is cool to me because now my interpretation of our audience either doing laundry or
Yeah,
doing
listening to
whatever
us.
around the house. Yeah. So that means it is very possible our podcast is being played in full versus YouTube or iPod because if you drive or if you walk, you know, I assume it's 30 minutes or 20 minutes and it can get boring. So somebody's doing house chores stuff and listening to it in the background. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and our Freakonomics episode, it still continues to be the most popular, and not on YouTube, but on the podcast apps.
Yeah.
It's had 101
That's crazy.
downloads for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know why either. I think the name alone tracks so much into it. And I don't know what we hashtag, but I think, whoever name or subject we hashtag on or touch on tag allow it to be I guess propagated faster than other episodes. So
Yeah,
that's
and I'm just looking at the stats. It seems like that particular episode got a lot of international hits. I don't know why, but it did. Quite a few in Canada too. So,
yeah.
all right.
So yeah, thank you listeners and viewers and followers. Please continue to do so and let us know what other subjects we should or cover or things like that. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, continue to follow us. For this series, I guess it's a conversational kind of vibe because, you can just watch the TV show, but check us out on our other episodes that we cover novels and such, especially War and Peace. It will save you the time from reading it, in my opinion.
Well,
That
reading it
kind
is a
of,
pleasure. Why would you want to save the time of reading?
yeah, right. Uh, we'll find out, but for I guess for TV shows and movies, then it's a discussion. If you're trying to save time, but feel free to watch the show and partake with us. In regards to novels too, if you haven't read that, feel free to read the same material and partake with us along. See what your take on it is, and if we miss covering anything or if we're wrong on anything.
All
All right.
right.
With that, thank you so much, and stay tuned for next time.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Goodbye.
Hey there, listeners. Thank you for supporting us thus far. How are you currently enjoying our show? Please share your thoughts with us through Twitter or YouTube. As we're a newer podcast, maintaining our vitality is the utmost important to us. Part of that process is to be a community, but most importantly is to deliver content that you enjoy. So in order for us to do those things effectively, please share with us your ideas and or requests, and of course, how you receive the show so far. Perhaps we can do a follow-up conversation to a topic that we've covered not in depth enough, or cover a new topic that you find interesting. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share with someone that you think would also enjoy the show. And of course, as always, be good and be well. Take care.